welcome everybody again. Thank you for joining our webinar, Managing Your Personal Online Brand and Job Hunting. Just a little bit about us. We are Ten2Two, so we are experts in flexible and part-time recruitment and consulting. We've got a wealth of experience in this area and we'd like to share it with some of you. We're going to follow up this session with a copy of the slides, so you don't need to write too much down. There is also a little Q&A box. It might be at the bottom for you or it might be at the top, but feel free to pop questions in there. And generally we leave them to the end and we can ask John questions then. There's loads and loads around the same subject and something's not clear on a slide, then I'll interrupt him. But if we can't get round to everybody tonight, we do follow up tomorrow with a really comprehensive Q&A document, FAQ document that will cover all of your questions. So I'm Tracy Adams. I'm one of the consultants here at Ten2Two, and I'm going to be your host, and I'll look at the Q&A box. And we've only got about 30 minutes for this with 10 minutes for questions. So I'm going to hand over without further ado to our presenter. It's Ten2Two's founder, John O'Sullivan. So welcome, John, and over to you.
Thank you very much. And well, thanks for so many people to come on to the webinar tonight and 8 o'clock at night. And well, it's probably still quite a dreary evening. January is so depressing sometimes. So we really appreciate everyone joining. Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen now. Here we go.
It's worth the wait.
Bear with me, caller.
There we go.
So you can see that then, Tracy.
Yes.
Thanks,
yeah.
So just a very quick point. We did run this webinar back in the end of November, and we had a really glitchy broadband connection. So some of you may have joined then unsuccessfully from my part and have joined again tonight. So thank you again if you have joined a second time. And I'm in a different office with great broadband, and I'm the only person in the office. So no one else is streaming anything. Nothing's been disrupted. So hopefully we should get through uninterrupted. So online and personal brand. So I am the founder of Ten2Two. We set the business up in about 2007. My background is internet and online. So I've got quite a bit of experience in the past and even more recently in these areas. So hopefully I'm going to share some of that with you over the next, I'd say 30 minutes or so. In terms of an agenda, this talking about how you present yourself online is it's a huge topic in a way. So hopefully today, what I'm aiming to do overall, my goal is to just be a prompt for action for you to just think about what you do, particularly if you're job hunting or you're thinking of maybe changing job or re-entering the workplace in the next 6 or 12 months. It is something you have to think about, get yourself ready for. So really, hopefully I can be a prompt for action, get you thinking, get you to take some actions, get you to review what you're doing and how you present yourself online. We'll just give a bit of context around social media and work. Because social media is obviously the place where people present themselves online in so many different ways. And then we'll just talk about how you identify and refine your personal brand. We'll focus a bit more on LinkedIn, and then we'll, as Tracy said, do the Q&A. So hopefully everyone is going to be okay with that. Just in terms of context, if you are working now and you have been working for the past few years, you'll see that more and more our communications has gone into what we would have seen 5-6 years ago as just social media. And so whether it's Teams or whether it's Slack or whatever communications tools you use at work, now it's very much chatty. It's very much about posting things on different groups. And it's very much the business applications have looked at what people were doing personally in their leisure time and have tried to reflect that in improving workplace communications. And it's done a fantastic job. So many companies now don't use email at all. They only use chat. However, it's really easy then to start blurring the lines between how you communicate with colleagues and how you communicate as a professional with colleagues, with suppliers, with potential employers, and what you do in your own personal lives. And you just have to be very conscious of making sure that do what you like online in your personal context, but your professional context, there is a different level of expectation. So you just have to think about two things. One is that you don't allow some of, whatever way you communicate personally, and we all have fun, we all have a joke and laugh on social media, that you are conscious about how you communicate online. And that you then are careful about when you're presenting yourself in a professional context, that if somebody then goes and checks you out on Instagram or on Facebook on something, that they don't see a really different person. And there's some very simple ways of doing that. I'm sure many of you recognize what they are, but I just remind you of them in a short period of time. So just something to remember, that workplace communication now very much like we communicate all the time with our families and our friends, with anyone in the online community. And it's just a very conscious thing that you need to manage. One of the things that when we first put this presentation together, I spoke to Heather Townsend and said, what do you think I should say? And it was more generally about social media. And she said about, she introduced the idea of a personal brand online. She's a business networking professional. She has written books about it for many years. And one of the things she talks about is letting the market make assumptions about you, particularly if you're job hunting. So online, because you're not face to face, you're not talking in a live situation, how you're presented through a web page, through a message, through a communication, if it's not done properly, does allow the market, i.e. people, employers, to just have question marks about what you do. And I'll introduce a couple of those as we go through. But you may be asking, what is a personal brand? I mean, we all know about brands. We know about brands that we buy, our favorite clothing brands, our favorite food brands, and what they say to us and how they act, whether they might be ethical, whether ingredients might be fantastic, and you can trust them, you like the look of them, whatever that might be. But branding is something slightly different. It's about bringing the online parts of your personality to present you in the best possible light. And we are job hunting. That's exactly what you want to do. You want to be, an overused word at the moment, but authentic. You want to try and present yourself as you are, because when you're going into a job hunting environment, if you're successful in your application, you'll get an interview. And if you're interviewing on Teams, or if you're interviewing face-to-face, or through Zoom, any inconsistencies start to come out. So if your application says one thing, you do something else on your interview, and then if you're lucky to get the job on day one, you go in, you're very different than how you appeared before. There's a disconnection there. And we've seen a number of times where people haven't been their true self. And when they start the job, it's like, who is this person? We don't quite recognize them. They weren't the person. Now, you'll always know in an interview situation that you will put a lot into it, you'll prepare very well. And there's always a difference in the general day-to-day workplace, but it's just once again, being conscious of it. So what is your personal brand? It's a combination of things. It's a whole range of different things. So it is, what's your story? So how are you telling your story? What are you saying on your CV and in your introduction? What are you saying in your about section on LinkedIn? Or if you're having a communication with somebody through email, they say, tell me a little bit about yourself, or give us 5 lines. Tell me what's the most important thing you've ever done in your life, or what's the thing that has disappointed you. You have to think about how you relate your story in those sorts of questions. You have to think about your language and tone. What sort of person are you? And don't use a tone that might not be reflected in your day-to-day conversations. So try and be as realistic as possible. And then other things like your achievements, the expertise that you have, make sure that comes across. That, if you have got 10, 15 years expertise in a sector, or in a particular area of brand, or in HR, for example, then make sure that when you're communicating that through your activity online, that comes through, because it's so very easy for that to be kept under the radar. How you engage, and we'll talk about LinkedIn in a little while, and then how you make that as consistent as possible in everything that you do. So think about the elements of how you present yourself. think about the consistency, and then make sure that you are being your authentic self, and that comes through into different areas. So there's a few things that you take there. What I'm not proposing is that if you are not somebody that you are. So you go on LinkedIn, you see people being really gung-ho, being absolutely 100% energized, and they're out there. But if that's not you, then you don't need to do it. So there's a nice way of taking a positive position, promoting your skills, showing your personality and your values, reflecting the real you. And that doesn't have to be like posting every day. That doesn't have to be, being active and shouting, but that needs to be active. It's very much on the front foot position. You can take a neutral position. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but the key is consistency. So make sure that you're consistent in everything you do across the different channels. As say, once again, through what you say on LinkedIn, what you say on your CV, what you might say in an online interview, how you dress in an online interview, for example. One employer spoke to me a couple of weeks ago and said that they were recruiting for a salesperson, and that of the 5 online interviews they did, 2 people were, no, 1 person was wearing a suit, 1 person was smart casual, and 3 people very much dressed down. And in a sales environment, what they expected was that person didn't know how I was going to be dressed. So I would expect a salesperson to try and hit a particular bar of how they might want to present themselves. And that person instantly dismissed the 3 dressed down people. And he just said hoodies. They're wearing hoodies or T-shirts. He said, that's not what I would expect someone. It wasn't preparation for me. So it created a question mark, even though that person didn't really mean, they might be the best person in the world. They're just not prepared. The whole area of, if someone goes through, and some employers will go and check your Instagram, particularly some managers, they might look you up on Facebook. If you're shortlisted, they might want to try and look around for you. If you haven't got your personal settings tied down so that people outside of your community can't see that, just be aware that people are looking at that if your account is open. And then a negative position is, people who, I've seen people with LinkedIn photographs who've got a cocktail in their hand, and or people on holiday. Sometimes the image that you're trying to portray is really inconsistent with other things they might see online, and sometimes you can't help that, but it's be very aware of it and try and manage it as well as you can. I just thought I'd put one quick example here of something that I saw. It was probably a year ago now, but it was somebody who went online, put out a post which says, I've been made redundant. I'd really love if any of my contacts knew of any roles that are going on, or, I'm really keen to work. I love the sector I'm in. I really want to stay in it. And she got fantastic response to that. And you'll see there, if you read on I won't read it all through, but she believed her personal brand had a big part to play because of how she promotes herself ongoing, how she supports people online, how she connects with contacts and with colleagues. And she felt that because she was proactive, that she got a great response. So once again, you don't have to do that all the time, but if you're job hunting, you really want to make sure that you do everything you can to make sure that your application is read, that you are shortlisted, that you're interviewed, that their consistency is delivered, and that hopefully you'll get an offer of a role. So you have to be really conscious in that time. You don't have to do it every day of your professional career, but you do have to think about how you increase the focus on it when you're preparing to job hunt or you're job hunting. We'll talk about that in a couple of seconds. Tracy, I can't see a clock here where I am. So if you just give me maybe put your hand up in 10 minutes or so, just so I'm aware.
Yeah.
We'll talk about LinkedIn just for 5-10 minutes here. It is the business community online. If you are doing anything in business, you try and reflect it in LinkedIn. It's a great place to connect with your business community and with the wider community. 23 million plus members in the UK. It means pretty much every professional in the UK has a LinkedIn profile. So it's really important to take care of it. A couple of things to bear in mind. recruiting managers, we know some recruiting managers that, if they get 10 CVs to look at, they'll look at every LinkedIn profile. If it's an important role for them, they'll look at every LinkedIn profile as well as look at an application and CV. If they're shortlisted, they will definitely look at a LinkedIn profile. They may even expect candidates to look at their LinkedIn profile. So I know I did quite a lot of recruiting for a company last year, not through Ten2Two, not finding people jobs for other companies. And if somebody didn't look at my LinkedIn profile, if I was interviewing the next day, I'd be wondering about that. I'd want them to look at my LinkedIn profile. I'd want them to do that research. So they will check your LinkedIn profile. So really be aware of that. The LinkedIn profile gives them a broader perspective on you. So if they've got a great overview on your application and on your CV, then LinkedIn gives a broader connection. So the number of connections you might have, if you're in marketing and you've only got 100 connections, that's not a very proactive person in some people's minds. And once again, I don't want to stereotype things here. Everything is slightly different, but there is certainly a consistent channel here of, we know hiring managers will look at things like connections. If you're shortlisting, they might even look at your posts and comments that you've done recently. And they may look at your recommendations that you've had from other people. So, if you are, once again, the number of people who left jobs last year, they said, would you mind writing a recommendation for me? And I had no problem with that. 2 or 3 lines on somebody's profile only takes them a minute. And once again, that helps them go and find another role. It's not compulsory. If there are no recommendations, it's not a drawback. However, it does help. If you have some recommendations, people read about what other people have said about you is very useful. And just a note of caution here, that if recruiting managers and HR people are going to check your LinkedIn, one of the things they'll also do is they'll check for consistency, that what you've put in your job history on LinkedIn is the same as what you have on your CV. And quite often there's some subtle differences, and that might just be a mistake. But once again, it creates a question mark about that. Why might that be different? So they may ask you, or they may just leave the question mark hanging. So just make sure that what you have on your LinkedIn profile is the same as what you have. It's consistent with your CV on dates, on descriptions, and those sorts of things. So just be really careful about that.
John, can I ask a really, really quick question on that? Because we do get asked this question a lot, and someone's already asked it. If they want to keep their LinkedIn, and this might happen when you come onto the slide where you're going through the background photo about section. If they've got a LinkedIn profile and want it to be quite broad and appeal to different roles, but then tailor a CV for a specific job, how do they make their LinkedIn broad enough? And I don't know if that maybe will be on the slide where you do the about and all that stuff.
Yeah, I might as well cover that now, because
right.
Your LinkedIn profile in some ways is your page, and it's it's very hard to have different profiles for different jobs. I think what you're looking for is making sure that if you're going to tailor a CV, an application for a specific job, that your LinkedIn profile provides the core of what you do. So one of the things that I do talk about on the next slide is about your about section on your LinkedIn profile, where it does allow you to, it's a bit like your personal profile at the top of your CV. It gives you the opportunity to just say, I'm returning to the workplace, or I've been a professional for 15 years. I love the sector I work in. If you, for example, have your about section, I love the food and drink section. Sector I work in, I'm very passionate about it. But for applying for jobs in other sectors, then maybe take that bit out. So just make sure your LinkedIn profile provides the core of your background, of your personality and who you are, and allow the CV and application, for example, you write a covering letter, to give some particular perspective on the sector you're applying into or the company that you're applying into. And I'll carry on that theme, Tracy. Let me move on to the next one, and the next slide will cover that.
Yeah, perfect.
So there's a couple of areas here just to bear in mind, and remember that Tracy will send these slides out. So a couple of stages. So build your profile. Your page is very important, that that page is up to date, is consistent. Another thing just springs to mind is if if for example you might have recently left a job, it will be your top role on your LinkedIn profile in your career, and make sure you go on and put an end date on it, because if you in your CV you said you went from January 2024 to December 24 on a job, and in January 25 LinkedIn says it's still current, then why are you saying it's still current? You're trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. So once again, little details just to be careful about. But build your profile. It is your online CV. It will be checked. Secondly, it's about building your network and the people that you may want to call on at some point to support you, and people that you may want to support. Thirdly, is you can build LinkedIn to build your knowledge. You can use LinkedIn to build your knowledge about a company, about a sector. If maybe you haven't worked in a sector, or you're re-entering a sector after a couple of years, there's so much information on LinkedIn now about companies and sectors, and through elements of LinkedIn Learning, that you can get interview ready. Really use some of the details. There's some fantastic articles. It's got really good search engine now on LinkedIn. Fourthly, then, is engaging with your community and being active. And once again, you can be a watcher on LinkedIn, but there's no harm. It's really easy to just say good luck when someone's got a new job, or to say, I saw you post the other day, I haven't spoken to you for ages, great post, or something. Literally, you can spend 5 minutes a day just going onto LinkedIn and just putting some nice messages out there. People love it. People love it when you get a comment on your post, or all of a sudden 50 people have said congratulations on your new job. It's a lovely thing to do. So be part of that. It's a really easy thing to do. And then obviously start your job seeking once 1 to 4 are done. So your profile, a few things just ahead. It is the first page people will go to, is your main page. It needs to be consistent. It needs to communicate well. So a couple of things to pick up on. So your headline, which is the line that you can put in under your name, make it work for you. So you could say Deborah Sullivan, Procurement Director, or you could say Deborah Sullivan, looking for my next role in the food and drink sector, or it could say something more general than that. But your headline is something that when people are searching on LinkedIn look at that headline for keywords, and they'll start to pull that out. So even if you're at a company at the moment and you might stay there for a while, and you're just sort of joining today for sort of general reasons, you might say, I am finance director at ABC company. So there's certain things it's really useful, because it's the first thing people look at a picture. Number one, it's the first thing they do is that their eyes engage with your picture. The first thing they check is that they've got the right name. And then the second thing is that they then look down at the headline to see if, once again, the person that they've been looking for is that person. So it's a way that people will zoom in and zero in on you and make sure that of the 50 Deborah Sullivans in the UK, in the USA, Canada, places, that they can find the right one. So that's really important. Pay attention to your photograph. Don't have your cocktail with sparkler out. Just try and make it as professional as possible. It doesn't need to be a professional picture. It just needs to be a professional, not professionally taken. It just needs to be a good picture that you've taken yourself. Maybe you're not holding your phone and taking a selfie from down below, get someone to take it for you. Really typical things. The about section, as I said before, if somebody scrolls down this page now to look at your career, the about section will be the next thing they see. And that gives you a chance to show a little bit of your personality. I've been in food and drink for 30 years. I absolutely love this sector. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm a leader. I've managed massive teams. Whatever that might be, that's your opportunity to just shine a little bit. And then on your profile, when you edit your profile, it also allows you to put in things like languages, if you've done any publications, if you've done any volunteering. It's a really good place to put that in. So once again, it fills out your profile as being active. If you've done nothing for a couple of years and you have been volunteering, there's a place there that you can put that in, and that will be visible to people. Your activity is visible if you've done posts. If it says this person hasn't posted for 2 years, You know, what does that say? Is there a question mark that they may put against you? So just be, maybe you don't have to post yourself, but just comment on others, and then that will come up. It's a really useful thing to be, to just be active. And I say, if you are thinking about going into the job hunting process, which may take you months, then I would start to become more active on LinkedIn. Just when people do go on, they'll see that, and actually that may then start to pick up some of your old colleagues, some of the contacts you might have. They might see that you are active, they might take a look at you. So once again, activity is a really good way of raising yourself and raising your profile on LinkedIn. We often have a question about, I've had a career break, do I put that in? And I would absolutely put it in. My basic principle on things like this is to be as open and honest as possible and not to hide anything, because if you hide things, it becomes evident when you talk to people that you've hidden something. So I would say, I would put in a recent role. I'd put career break. So you could put a role in, and you put career break from this time to this point. You could say career break, caring for family, whatever you might want to put in there on a career break. If you've done any volunteering, put that into the description, but no harm in a career break. And in your about section, you can always say, I'm coming to the end of a career break. I'm very passionate about rejoining. I've kept my skills current. You can put something in your about section there, but definitely include it. Don't try and hide a career break if you can help it. On your job listings, there's no harm in putting in as many as you've got. People will generally look at the top 3 or 4 and then and make them brief, make them action focused. If something you've delivered, something that you've done in that job, don't just sort of say, I was a marketing manager at this. Pull something out that might be interesting, that might just draw the eye, might create a better impression. And all the way through, right the way through your profile, LinkedIn is looking for keywords, just like Google looks for keywords. So make sure it's relevant, make sure that you're using action words, that type of thing. So your profile, go through it, make some updates. You can set your settings so that it doesn't tell everybody when you've updated, and just make sure that you then go back and have another read of it and that you're happy with it. And if anything changes, just update it. Really easy thing to do.
Yeah. And we're at past, John, just to let you know. So
Right.
10 minutes to go.
10 minutes ago. That's fine. That's really good. Thank you. So maintaining your network. So I think that the most useful thing on LinkedIn for me, this is my Rolodex. If anyone remembers what a Rolodex is, people come and go on jobs. They change their contact details. The mobile number you have for them might not be the mobile number they have anymore. The email address might not be the email address, but LinkedIn is consistent, because it's updated. People update their contacts, and when you go and look at them, you can then go and find them. You can message them on LinkedIn. So I would make it a habit to connect with new contacts. And also, if you are, once again, going into job hunting market, just think maybe about some contacts that you haven't connected with for some time. If you're not connected to them on LinkedIn, send them a LinkedIn contact. Just say, hey, I thought I'd connect with you. I hope you're well. Generally, people will accept that if they've worked with you before. Or send someone a message if they're going to say, oh, I just saw you did a post, or I thought about you the other day, or your name came up on my LinkedIn homepage. I thought I'd just reach out and say hello, or hope the family are well and everything is going well at ABC company. Just leave it at that. How long does it take to write that message? 30, 40 seconds. So there's a really easy way of, once again, becoming more visible by using your network on LinkedIn and just becoming more active. So LinkedIn only, if you're on your, something to pull out now, something they've done fairly recently, is you used to be able to do as many invitations as you want on LinkedIn. What they've now done is they've put a limit on it of 4 LinkedIn invitations a month, 5 LinkedIn invitations a month. So that's 60 a year. One of the things that it might be worth considering, people in the past have said, should I get LinkedIn Premium? And I've always said, not really. There are some good things, but you pay for it. It can be, it's 40 to 50 pound a month, and it's an expensive tool as an ongoing cost. However, once again, if you want to refresh then if you look at LinkedIn and then you look at the premium page a couple of times, and one of the things LinkedIn would probably do would be to send you a message which says, would you like it half price for 2 months? And then you can go on, you can get for £25, do everything you want in a month, connect with everyone you want to connect with, look at as many people you want to do, get all your job hunting ready and re-energize your network, and then cancel that subscription. So it's worth just thinking about, it's worth going and having a look about. But one of the things I do is I always like to add a personal message, because it reminds people who you are. If you've just met them, fine, just connect with them. There's no need to send them a message. They'll remember that they spoke to you today or in the last week. But if you haven't for some time, it's a really nice thing to do. And as Catherine Robinson, who's an HR director, said there in a post, I'd like to add you to my professional LinkedIn. Really, but I'd like a bit more information than that. So it's just something, a nice thing to do. It's about person to person. So carry on doing that. Two quick things I'm going to say here. One is you will see if you go on LinkedIn, they have an open to work sort of banner around your picture. And it's a nice way when people go and look to your profile, it says, hey, I'm looking for a job. No harm in doing that. If you are looking for a job, then use it. You can set that on your LinkedIn profile. If you edit your profile, you'll see where you can do that. If you're currently working and you're looking, you might not want to do it because you might not want to highlight your current employer that you're open to work. But if you're not working, you've finished a job, you've been made redundant, you're going back into the workplace, there's absolutely no harm in doing it. It's a really good thing to do. And one of the things that we always struggle with at Ten2Two is people don't have their CVs updated. And it's tough. You know, you've got to sit down, find an old CV, update it. If you're busy, it might take you a week, might take you 2 weeks. It's a waste of 2 weeks. However, if you go into the resources part of your LinkedIn page, your LinkedIn profile, what you can do is it will say convert your profile to PDF. And what you can then do is do that, and it will give you a PDF of your homepage, and it'll essentially be a workaround CV. It'll keep you going as a CV. It has your summary in there. It has your job experience and your details. It's a great way of instantly having a CV. So just make a note of that if you are going to need a CV in the recent in the upcoming months and days. So I'm going to summarize now very quickly. I've just had a run through here, and there's more on personal brands, some work that we've done that we can share with you that we'll cover at the end. But there's 4 essentially key things for you to remember. So first of all, just be conscious about how you're presenting yourself. As I said at the beginning, you don't just be rah, 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 get out there. But there's no harm in just being more active than you might normally be if you're job hunting. And then just make sure that you are promoting yourself. You know, one of the things that we find with many people, and given that most of the Ten2Two team is female, and they won't mind saying this because we've covered it again and again and again, is that women often, you know, hide under a bushel. They don't promote their skills, they don't promote their achievements. And many men do the same. If that's not how you want to do it, maybe even get someone else to look at your profile for you, to think, what else could I bring out here that's going to really showcase what I do and what I've done before. So be conscious of it. Be conscious of how you communicate. Conscious is the key word. So when you're job hunting, refocus. Think about it as a task. You know, you will go out and you will look for a job. You may talk to Ten2Two and say, hey, I'm really looking for a role right now. There's no harm in dropping someone at Ten2Two and need to say, I'm registered, but I'm just moving. How can you help? So as you're going to do that, and think about your LinkedIn in particular, and refocusing on that and increasing your level of activity, because it will pay dividends. All this is vocational. It's learning by doing. If you change your LinkedIn profile, you read it tomorrow and you think, oh, that doesn't quite work for me, you can change it at the click a button. So don't get nervous about it. Just do it whenever you want to do it. It's really easy. And then after today, we'll send you the information. But anything else you more want to do about personal brand, about behavior online, about use of LinkedIn, there's loads and loads of information online. that you can hunt for. Just do some Googling around and have a check. So, Tracy, any questions? Thank you for listening, everyone. I think everyone has stayed on until the end, so appreciate that.
It is an absolute whistle-stop tour, isn't it, Don?
It really is. I mean,
such a deep subject.
Yeah, and you know what, Tracy, it is. We very rarely think about our personalities and how we come across. You know, sometimes in the workplace you might do that. You might do some personal profile or leadership training or something like that. And we all know that we might be, we might have a certain category when we've done some personality profiling, but we don't think about it very often. And it is something to think about, you know, particularly when you're going for a job, and particularly if you're interviewing on video. You know, there's so many small mistakes people can make about not presenting themselves very well. So it's worthwhile sitting yourself down and just spending 10 or 15 minutes thinking, right, okay, how am I doing this? What does my profile look like?
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Are there any questions we can cover in 5 minutes, Tracy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you touched on it, but I think it'd be good to refer to this actually. So someone has asked, how do I understand what my personal brand is in the first place to be able to write about it? So you and I, we've touched on this before actually about what, you know, webinars we've done in the past. So don't know if you want to say that or if you want me to just quickly.
So we do have a webinar that we've done previously called Unlock Your Potential. If you go on if you search for Ten2Two on YouTube and go to our channel, you'll see a webinar that we previously did. There's a recording there. I'd recommend you go and look at that.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about job hunting, return to workplace sometime this year, on the 9th of July, we're going to do a live webinar on that topic again. So just keep an eye out around about that time from mid-June onwards for an invitation from the team, and register on that, because once again you'll see it live. You know, sometimes it's better than watching a recording, but if it's something you need earlier, then go on the YouTube channel and check it. It's called Unlock Your Potential, and you'll see
absolutely. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I mean, there's we've had a couple more questions. So there's one here about the ever increasing usage of ChatGPT and AI. So should I use ChatGPT and AI to help me write a LinkedIn profile or apply for jobs?
So I would say yes, if you're comfortable with it. ChatGPT and AI is something we're all going to be coming across. You know, I was in Seville the other week, and I said, you know, ChatGPT, can you give me a really nice route? I'm here, I want to get to there. Show me a off the beaten track route. You know, it's so useful. However, we are seeing job applications where people are putting the job spec into ChatGPT and saying, please write me an application, or you know, an application form or a personal profile or something. And ChatGPT has a certain vocabulary, a certain lexicon it comes back with. And if you just cut and paste that into a document or cut and paste that into an email, once again, you're creating a disconnection between you and how you come across and your tone and your language and your vocabulary than ChatGPT. So by all means, it's a fantastic way of researching a company. Go and say, I'd like to know more about this. I'm applying for a marketing job, and it will tell you loads about that company. It's really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just be careful that you're not cutting and pasting from ChatGPT. Use it by all means. It's really great. Don't cut and paste.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, as a recruiter and hiring manager, and feedback from companies at the moment, they can tell when applications are ChatGPT'd. And they are rejecting outright if they think it's ChatGPT. So it is absolutely make it your own. Tweak it, play around with it. It's a nice starting point, but don't let that tone, as John said, because it's quite a common, it'll probably be a common tone.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, John, I think we're going to run out of time there. There's a few more questions we're not going to get round to that I've answered most. There's 3 more. There's one there, the anonymous attendee. You might know who you are. If you can let me know what your email address is, I'll reply to you tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll put it in the FAQs as a generic question, and we'll send it out in the document tomorrow. But thank you, everybody. We have run out of time. Thank you, John. What a brilliant presentation. As I said, it's a whistle stop tour, and the best we can do in half an hour, 40 minutes. Yeah.
Tracy, I just want to say I've just put that detail up there on the screen again.
Perfect.
Our LinkedIn profile's there. If anybody wants to link in with me, if you haven't done any LinkedIn for a while, link in with me, give me a personal message saying you joined the webinar and join my network. So let me be a practice point for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you're more than welcome to link with me. You know, there's other people in the team you might end up speaking to. Just link. Once you've spoken to someone, there's no harm. So I'm going to follow up tomorrow with a link to this webinar. We'll also send that document for you. Just allow us, you know, most of tomorrow to pull it all together and compile these Q&As. But that's it for now. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you join us again for more in the future.
Yes, thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.